On October 28th, there's a lunar eclipse in Taurus, and this is asking you to balance the energies of comfort and security with power and ambition. What does that mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the lunar eclipse. It's on October 28th. It's at 5 degrees of Taurus. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So if you believe that we are eternal souls and that we are co-creating with the universe, eclipses are signs that we need a course correction. And so this is the universe offering us an off-ramp or a surfboard to help us sail through these troubling times so that we can grow and prosper. But if we ignore this, if we ignore the off-ramp or we ignore the surfboard, then we could hit traffic or get hit by the wave. And that was kind of a mixed metaphor, but I hope you understand what I mean. If we actively participate in this growth, then wonderful things happen. If you don't, then changes happen. You still end up with the change, the growth, all of that happens, but it's not as easy. Now, not everyone is hit by the eclipse, and so this particular eclipse is 5 degrees of Taurus. I give a 5-degree orb. That means if you have a planet or point at between 0 degrees and 10 degrees, you're being hit by this eclipse. If that planet or point is in Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you're getting a stronger hit. And if that planet or point is the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, or the Ascendant, you're getting a very strong hit. The stronger the hit, the bigger the change. As we go sign by sign, we'll talk about where this eclipse hits in your chart. Or I do readings if you want to know in particular or very specifically about your chart. There's a link in the description. Now, when we are looking at the chart, we see this is a very interesting eclipse because there's a lot of players involved. The Moon and Jupiter are sitting together in Taurus, and that's on the one side. And then on the other side is the Sun, Mercury, and Mars. And so we have this energy of trying to balance the Moon-Jupiter, which is very much about love and comfort and making it easy and just, lapping up the luxury, versus the other side of Sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, which is focused, ambitious. It is looking for power. It's looking for control. And so in an opposition, what happens is that, if we picture that you're in the schoolyard and you see the person on the other side of the schoolyard and the two of you are going to interact, but you're very different people. So you can come together to fight, or you can come together to use the different talents that each of you have to make a stronger unit. And so this eclipse is giving you the opportunity to look at how you can move towards power and ambition and control and still have the luxury, the comfort, the ease that you're looking for. There's a way to balance these two. And yes, there's going to be the energies get mitigated on either side. There's a little bit less. We can't be 100% on either side because then the other side would lack, but we can find a way to balance. Now, I should at this time point out that if you are leaning towards one side, then the other side gets really loud and gets really insistent. And so if you say, I'm just going to go for power, I'm just going to go and follow my goals, then your desire for luxury, your desire for comfort, your desire for safety starts screaming at you, and that's when you start procrastinating. Or if you're fully on that side, I don't care about these other things, I am going to just relax, then there is opportunity after opportunity. You see it and it just comes and goes and you say, I should have done that. I could have gone and did those things. That was my goal. Why did I give up my goal? So what we're looking for here is the balance. So because this is a lunar eclipse, this is a time of change. And so it does say that if you think that you've got this balance down, the universe is suggesting still to look for some adjustments. But if you know the balance is off, then by all means make the adjustment. And that might mean that you feel way too comfortable in your job or way too comfortable in your relationship, and these are not leading to your goals. Or you've been so goal-oriented that you're burning yourself out and you need to take some time off. So as we go sign by sign, we'll be looking at what particular area this eclipse is hitting for you. Now, on a totally different note, but still astrological, I wanted to address something that seems to be confusing some of the people watching my videos, and it's just something that I feel like I need to talk about. And that is that when you see the chart on the screen that I put up, that is called a zero Aries chart. I use a zero Aries chart because I'm doing general predictions. And so you don't live where I live necessarily. And so if I did a chart for where I live, those predictions would be quite specific for this time zone. But I don't know where you live, so I do a zero Aries chart. But a zero Aries chart is not the same as a whole sign chart. If I'm doing a reading for an individual, I'm not going to use a whole sign chart. I don't use whole sign charts. I would use a Placidus chart. I know whole sign charts are extremely popular right now, which mystifies me because in my opinion, there's less information in a whole sign chart because you can't see the house cusps. Additionally, when you do a whole sign chart, you are artificially moving the planets to locations they may not have been at the time you were born. So, for example, if in your Placidus chart you see that Venus is in the 6th house, that would mean it's below the horizon. It was invisible. But in your whole sign chart, it is in the 7th house. That would have mean that we could see Venus in the sky at the time you were born. But if that's not the case, then we don't want to see Venus there. We would want it in the 6th house. So again, I just wanted to point out, one, I'm not doing whole sign charts. I am showing a zero Aries chart. That is a chart you use for predictions. And if you come to me for a reading, we're going to be doing Placidus. There are a lot of good house systems out there, Koch and Regimentanus, and there's a long list. I happen to use Placidus, and it's the one that I find is the most accurate, but I wanted to clear this up. So I am doing tropical Western astrology. It is a good idea to listen to your rising sign. And if you don't know your rising sign, send me your birth information and I will send you a copy of your chart. There's a link in the description. I do readings, as I mentioned already, if you want to see what's upcoming for the new year or this eclipse. I also have some video courses out, including Tarot Reading the Natural Way. There's a link for that in the description. And my new course is Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart. I keep promising that course is done, and I keep adding videos to it. So it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's coming soon. I found a couple more things that I wanted to add videos, little topics that I wanted to add videos on. And so I'm working on those now. It is coming. And when it is, I'll make an announcement. I'll make the announcement first in my newsletter. And so if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, you can do so on my website. There's a link to my website in the description. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this lunar eclipse happens in your house of money, also your sense of deserving and possessions in general. And then the sun is lighting up your house of resources from others. This is also about power and control. And so these are the two areas that you are balancing. So you may ask yourself, are you focused so much on security that you are then not doing things about allowing others to help you or to gain resources or passive income sources? Or are you so focused on investments and things like that you are not then paying attention to what you're spending or how your money-making activities could be boosted so that you could then invest more? Now, this is also about power and control and your sense of deserving. And so there may be something here where perhaps you're not feeling worthy, and therefore that is hindering your process of bringing in resources. Or you're trying to control resources by saying it must come from this person at this time, and missing out on opportunities coming from other sources. Now, eclipses are about change, and so actively looking to see, is an income source being interrupted? Is an investment not doing well that needs to be rebalanced or changed entirely? Is this something that keeps recurring in your sense of self-worth, where you continually get underpaid, or that you feel like you're waiting for resources to come from a particular source, and therefore you're missing other sources? Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the Sun is making a wide conjunction to Mars, and that is in the house of intimacy. And so there is some really good energy right now for meeting somebody new. You might meet someone and they have a feeling where they want a physical relationship very much more than, slowing down and having an intellectual or emotional relationship. But you could also meet someone who you have a great deal of physical chemistry between the two of you, and so you could be very attracted to them physically. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, so the energy here feels like you guys are just moving along. It looks like you're both quite busy. You're taking care of daily things, and you don't really have a lot of time to work on the relationship. And that is also, it might be that you're just coming together at night and that's it. You see each other and you fall asleep, and there isn't the time or energy to really connect with each other. That's going to happen, in a future, moon phase. Don't worry about it. So, but right now it just looks like your relationship is moving along as it always does. Now, when it comes to your money, of course, this eclipse is happening in a money house, and it's ruled by that Venus, which is in your house of work. So you have an exceptionally strong time when it comes to money right now. That means lessons are coming in about money, handling money, money sources, if you have emotional or intellectual issues about money, all of these things the universe is here to help you with. Now, when it comes to money derived from your investments or from your business, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, your houses are so strong that it is likely that you have opportunities to make more money, but the universe will suggest that you work on the lessons first, and that is, sense of deserving. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? How can you attain those while still remaining secure and comfortable? So that means you don't bet the bank. You take careful steps forward, but very deliberate steps forward. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, it is a different story because Venus is making a lovely trine to Uranus, and Uranus is in a money house. And so therefore, you have a very strong opportunity to get more money from your job. Now, this could mean that you're changing jobs, and so you have an increase, or you're getting a raise or a bonus, or, you're selling more, so you're getting more commission. You have a lot of opportunities when it comes to your job and making more money. Okay, Taurus, this is your eclipse. It is the last of this series, and so the good news is the next Taurus eclipse after this one won't be until 2031, so you're going to get a break. But that also means that this is the last opportunity to get this message from the universe. And the message here is that you are balancing the energies between Taurus and Scorpio. And because you're Taurus, you're going to favor Taurus, which is to stay safe and comfortable and in your realm of familiar. Whereas the Scorpio energy, which is sitting across from that, is in this area of meeting other people, connecting with people for a love relationship, friendships, business collaborations, and things like that. And so everything here is pulling you out of that comfort zone, pulling you out of your shell, and needing your confidence, needing you to boldly go forward, trusting your abilities so that you can balance this energy. And of course, you don't want to swing just to ambition and say, all right, I must do things with other people and they have to take the lead, or I have to control the relationship in some way. There is the easygoing side of you that, has this live and let live attitude that is necessary also, because we're looking for the balance here. But what your focus is, or what I should say, your tendency is going to be towards Taurus. So it's likely this is out of balance. And so look to balance first. And then you can start to then play with the energies and say, okay, I need a little bit more security, or I need a little bit more of this goal setting. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Mercury is not making an aspect with Venus, Venus is in that house. And it is in Virgo, which is ruled by the Mercury. So we have enough connections, kind of hidden connections, that say that something is possible here. Now, what it looks like to me is this would be an introduction through someone you know, because Mercury is sitting in a place where you are meeting new people, but they seem familiar in some way. So I'm thinking that, yes, you could meet someone new, but it's going to be less likely this is a person just off of a dating site, and more likely this is an introduction from a friend or family member, or connected to some group you belong to. So, but other than that, the energy looks good. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy is very strong. Mercury's making an opposition to Jupiter. The houses are full. Everything is pointing towards strengthening this relationship, or at least talking out the issues. Because of this eclipse energy, there could be, again, this dynamic between wanting to be comfortable and wanting to have some sort of control over a situation. And so you're kind of looking at what's in your control and what's out of your control. And so it is also possible that your partner is trying to control some aspects of the relationship, and that's kind of why you're going head to head. So, but you have some very nice opportunities to work something out, but a compromise has to happen. This is not a trine, this is an opposition. And an opposition says that you have to look at things from the other person's perspective, and you have to find a way to have the common ground be the thing that joins you. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is conjunct the Mars, and it's part of this whole lunar eclipse, so you have extraordinary energy this time. This is especially focused on meeting people, people for collaboration, people for partnerships, mentors, teachers, someone to help you along the way. And even if that is not a live meeting, even if it's a virtual meeting through a video, it is where you listen to their advice, you stop and you say, how is this fit for me? Instead of just moving on to the next video or moving on to the next person. So your money opportunities are there, but it's going to take you to a moment you need to stop and think it through, because Mercury is in Virgo and it says, look at the details. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter. You have a good, strong aspect for making more money than usual. This can mean that there is some negotiation going on. If somebody owes you money, maybe they want to negotiate the payment schedule or the amount that they owe. Or there might be some adjustments that you're making to invoices that you're sending out, but you have good energy over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that would be like a paycheck, Mercury's making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune, which is a little bit more challenging aspect. It means that you could get more money, but there is going to be some sort of strings attached. And I'm not seeing that the strings is actually more work. It may be around who you work with, though, because we have so much activity with others. So keep in mind that if you are asking for a raise right now, you may be put on a different team, and that might be the team that you were not really wanting to be with. So you might want to wait until this energy lines up better in the future. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of spirituality. This is also psychic ability, your shadow self, addictions, and those things that you find really tempting to do when you want to hide from the world. And this is opposite of the house of scheduling and calendars and getting things done, being productive, taking care of your health and well-being. And so this is what you're trying to balance, is how much you can stay home and, eat on the sofa, watching Netflix, versus getting out to the gym or taking a walk or getting things done for work. And so this is where you are looking for some sort of compromise, and maybe how to do a little bit of both, or how to move from one thing to the other. And this is where the universe would like you to change. So look at those two sides and decide which one you are favoring, and see how you could favor the other side. If it's that, the one I said about the sofa and the eating, that is also the house of spirituality and psychic ability. So that would be meditation, visualization, prayer, putting up feng shui cures and things like that. So there is that side of it where you could activate your intuition and use that more in your daily life. That would help balance this energy. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury. Mercury's sitting in your house of work, and Venus is sitting in your house of home. Like, it doesn't even look like you're getting out much. And so it's quite possible that you could just let these couple of weeks go by and not focus on this area, because it does look like your attention is elsewhere anyway. And so this is just a time to say, let me put this on the back burner. Let's see if the universe brings you some messages about this over the 2 weeks, and see if you get some insight about how you're approaching this, or, maybe somebody you've already met is interested and we need to give them a little time to get up their courage, etc. So I think that this energy will line up better in the future, so you don't need to push it right now. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter, so you have some good energy for working things out, especially if you want to make some sort of compromise. So this is part of the eclipse energy, and so a change is needed, but it is likely that your partner is open for the change as well. And so this is just a matter of balancing out how to move forward towards your goals and how to still stay comfortable and happy. So, but there is energy for working out this puzzle during this 2 week time. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the moon, which of course is part of this lunar eclipse, but it is situated in that house of receiving messages from the universe and your higher self. And so what is required for that is a little bit of quiet. We live in a world where every moment can be filled with some sort of sound, and that is, it's the earbuds in the ears, or as you're walking from your car to work, there's music playing in the parking lot. In every store, it's there. It's like everywhere. And so if there's constant input, it's very hard to hear the universe or your higher self. So that is where you may want to just have some peace and quiet so you can get these messages. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from your investments, the moon's making a lovely sextile to Saturn. That gives you opportunities to make more money than usual over this next 2 weeks. These are opportunities. That means you have to take some sort of action to make them happen, but this is a good energy for you, so you want to pursue it. So maybe make a little list of, these are the things I need to do to manifest some money. And as you start to check them off, you'll see the money roll in. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that would be like a paycheck, the moon's making an opposition to Mars. Mars is in a house of work. This is pretty good energy. I think that you could gain more money, certainly right now, by changing jobs. No question about it. You could negotiate for a higher salary. Saturn's right at the top of your chart. So, but if you wanted, you could also just stay where you are and ask for a raise. It is likely they're going to give you more hours or more projects or more work, but you may find the work very interesting. It may teach you something for the future. So if you want to ask for the raise, this is a good time to do it. Okay, Cancer, you're doing this lunar eclipse first in this house where you want to be friends with everyone in the world, where you want to love everyone and, buy them a beverage and, and sing together. And so there is that, that wanting to be with friends and wanting to make more friends, etc. And this is sitting opposite that energy of personal expression, where you're the most important person, where you want your creativity out in the world, where you want to express who you are. And so this is where you're trying to balance. Do you go with the crowd or do you do personal expression? So this is where you're trying to take the best of both of these worlds and find some middle ground. Now, there is another part of this too, which will apply to some, and that is this could be the energy of personal freedom versus taking care of your kids 24/7. And of course, if they're young kids, you have to do that. But if they're older children and you are thinking about them and worried about them, etc., and not expressing yourself and what you want to do in your own freedom, that may be the thing you need to balance. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars are sitting in that house. That's fantastic. So, but there is no aspect going on between the Moon and Pluto. So you have really good energy for meeting someone, but it's a little bit more of a passive situation where someone may come to you and therefore, you're kind of on the spot when they say, hey, do you want to go out? And you're not sure, or this wasn't the particular person you were thinking of. But right now, it looks like the ball is in their court. And so you could be the recipient of a request for a date. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the Moon's making a lovely sextile to Saturn. You have an opportunity to work something out, to figure out something between the two of you where you both use your skills and you contribute. And so if there is some issue that you're trying to work out, either with the relationship or something that you're doing together as a couple, listen to each other, really listen, because the contribution is coming equally from both sides. So this is very good energy for building this relationship, making it stronger and better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Sun, which is sitting there with Mercury and Mars and just raring to go. This is your desire to do something creative and fun and exciting for money. And so this is maybe the time where you're thinking, I want to get my business started. And of course, do not launch a business on the day of the eclipse. There's no energy on the day of the eclipse because you're going through a doorway. But you could get everything ready for a launch after the eclipse. And so if you're thinking that way, this would be about the big celebration, the big reveal, and getting, and that would stimulate income. Now, when it comes to money derived from a business or from investments, the Sun's not making an aspect to Uranus. So while I was talking a lot about business and opportunities, it is probable that these profits are not coming in this 2-week period. So this says that your business is still strong, but because the energy doesn't line up exactly, it means that all the money is coming to you later. So that is, you push forward and know that accounts payable is going to collect. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. The Moon, Jupiter, and Uranus are in that house. That's fantastic. That is a very strong placement. Plus, you've got the Sun making a semi-square to Venus. Now, a semi-square is not the most comfortable aspect. It can feel like this is something you don't want to do. You're not wanting to ask for the raise. You don't even want to bring it up. You wish they would just notice you. But if you do this thing, you could get some very good results. So you just practice over and over saying, I need a raise. And then you say it with a smile, see what they do, because that could bring you more money in your career. Okay, Leo, you are doing this eclipse right at the top of your chart. So you are lit up. You are extremely visible in the world right now. And that means that what you put out on social media and, just in job and career stuff in general is seen by many. Now, what you have is the lunar eclipse is happening in your house of career. So that is that you might feel comfortable in your career. You might get some recognition that career is easy. And this is sitting opposite of that Scorpio stuff at the base of your chart, saying that you have bigger plans, that you want to do something for your family, that you want to, maybe get a bigger house or move across country, or to expand the existing house so that relatives can come and live with you, like you're building your kingdom. And so what's happening is there is this out of balance situation where you're deciding whether you want to stay where it's comfortable, where it's secure, or do you want to push forward for more so that you can build the kingdom that you're looking for. And so that's what this eclipse is for you. I should mention there may be a great desire to buy property during this time, or to be thinking about what you're leaving the kids. So there is, because there's a great deal of power at the base of your chart. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making an opposition to Jupiter. So there is some good relationship energy here. And because you're very noticeable, it's possible this person will find you. So maybe do less looking, but put yourself in a place where you can be seen. And then someone could come up to you, and that way, all you have to do is say yes. But there is some good energy for meeting someone over this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's a different story because there's no aspect going on between the sun and Uranus. Now, you have a very full house of family. And of course, your partner could be family, but it looks like you're thinking of the family more holistically versus doing one-on-one relationships. And you may be also very future thinking about the family and not what's happening right now. So I think the relationship is moving forward just as it has been. It's not really turning or changing so much unless it is that it's part of the family changes that are going on. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is part of this whole eclipse stuff. And so this does indicate that some sort of change of thinking is necessary. And it is tied to your past. It's tied to family history as well as your own personal history. And so it may mean that you need to cut some ties, not necessarily with the people, but with the ideas or what you were taught. And as you cut those, you get to then have new ideas, a new philosophy, a new way of looking at things. So this is the energy right now, is to shift the thinking or the programming or the tape that is playing in your head about money that came to you at childhood or from older relatives. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from investments, Mercury's making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune, and that is an aspect. It's not the easiest one. And so that means, yes, you may get more clients for your business, but they're difficult clients. You may have investment opportunities, but to make the purchase, you have to, open up a new brokerage account or move money to a new place. There is some extra steps you have to take. This energy is going to line up better in the future, so you may want to save big things that you're doing to after this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and that would be like a paycheck, the Mercury is part of this whole eclipse system. And since the Mercury is sitting in your house of home, my thought is that if you ask for a raise, they're going to ask you to come back into the office. If you want, you might be able to, instead of negotiating for a raise, negotiate for more remote work time, if that's what you're looking for. If you are looking to come back into the office, then you can ask for a raise. Okay, Virgo, you are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of higher education. This is also in the area of travel and legal matters and your personal philosophy. And of course, the other side of this eclipse is in this area of, just learning and playing and doing activities, as well as, just handling paperwork and talking to your siblings and stuff like that. So it's the difference here, because these two houses can be quite related, but the difference here is, are you learning things in a fun, kind of lackadaisical way, or are you taking it very seriously, getting your homework done, doing the extra study? That's where you need some balance. This may be that you're very focused on winning a court case, but you're not getting the paperwork done, or vice versa, you're getting the paperwork done, but you don't have any confidence that you're going to win the court case. Maybe this is where the desire to travel is very, very strong, but you're not buying the tickets, you're not, putting in the calendar, etc. So this is where it's kind of the balance between, am I really going to do this, or am I just playing with this? Is this just a thought in my head that doesn't have any substance? And that's where these two things are coming together. The other side of this is the difference between your personal philosophy and just random thoughts. And the random thoughts is like being tossed around in the wind like a leaf, where one person says, you should always do this, and the next person says, you should always do that. And you're ping-ponging between different ideas versus a personal philosophy, which could be really good, or it could be dogmatic. So, and that's where, again, like maybe you take your personal philosophy, you look at the new input you've got and see where the compromise can happen. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Saturn. And so there's not a lot going on right now in that area. I will say this will improve pretty soon. We're going to see things start line up as we get closer to the end of the year. But right now, it looks like your attention's just elsewhere. In fact, so much so that someone probably could ask you out and you wouldn't notice. So if that's something that you really do want, then tell your friends and your family, tell me when somebody's asking me out, because I may not notice. So but you are attracting positive energy. Again, it just feels like your mind is elsewhere. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune. And this indicates that there is a problem that you can solve between the two of you. However, it opens a bigger can of worms, and which is a can of worms that you need to go through and deal with, etc. at some point. And you need to decide whether you want to unravel that knot right now. And so that is, as you get into something, you might want to just make a mental note. Oh yeah, there's a bigger issue here, so let's deal with it. And so an example might be that you say, hey, I keep asking you to take out the trash, why aren't you doing that? And the bigger issue might be that they expect that this is not their job and should never be their job. That's the bigger thing. But the fact that they didn't do it at that moment is the little thing. So looking at that, maybe putting a pin in it and saying, I'm going to deal with that bigger issue later when this energy is a little bit better. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Venus, which is in your own sign right now. So that means that you are in the spotlight. You're easy to see. That means if you put out marketing materials, etc., you advertise, you are more noticeable. Don't do it on the day of the eclipse. There's no energy on that day for marketing or doing something like that. But other days around the eclipse are perfectly fine. Now, this this Venus is going to make a great trine to Uranus, which says do things a little different, tweak things a bit, change it up a little bit. And that's what the eclipse is all about anyway. So look at what you can change about your thinking about money or your actions about money, because that is what's going to stimulate the money energy. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from your career, you're making about the same as usual. Venus is not making an aspect with Mars. They will in the future. Right now, they're not lined up. And so that means that most of the money that you can expect is coming outside this 2-week period. So we see you just, making about the same as usual, but bigger money is coming later. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, the moon's making a sesquiquadrant to Venus. This indicates that there's going to be some sort of string attached to getting a raise. And what I'm thinking is that there is some sort of exam you need to take or certification that you need or another level of education is needed. There's some sort of hurdle that you have to do. And maybe this is a hurdle that it just exists in your industry and you have to do it and the aspect doesn't make a difference. And in that case, while you're doing this eclipse energy in that house of education, you go for it. But if this is something that just at the moment they say, you kind of need it now, but maybe you don't, then you might want to wait on this. It reminds me that I just saw this news report. I think the kid was in the Bay Area. He couldn't get into college. 16 colleges refused him, but Google gave him a full-time position at 18 to be a coding engineer. So because he just knew he knew his stuff. So this might be something where you could negotiate a way out of, needing a degree or needing some certification if you have the experience. But right now, this is a hard aspect. And so if you're going to do it now, be prepared to work to get it. Okay, Libra, you are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of resources from others. And so what may need to change is you may feel that you need to rely on others, that you're not capable of doing it yourself, you're not confident about it, or you don't feel you deserve it until somebody gives it to you, because this is being balanced on the other side by this ability to take control of your finances and really own it and to say, I'm in charge of what I make. I can make my own money if I want to. I can also balance that with the use of other people's money and other people's resources and find the happy medium. So that's where you want to look at what side you're favoring to see if you are waiting for permission from somebody else to make more money, saying, I don't know if I deserve it. I don't know if I can ask for more. Or if you are, thinking that you're so needing to control money, or that money is controlling you. And so that it's the only thing on your mind and so it is eclipsing basically your life. And I think the temptation here is to really focus on the money aspect of it, but start by asking yourself the questions about worthiness and self-esteem and a sense of deserving, and see where you can find the balance in that of feeling that you're worthy, but also not getting to a point of entitlement. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making a lovely trine to Uranus, so there is a major opportunity here. Now, there's a great deal of energy around a physical attraction, so that would mean someone that you have really good chemistry with, who may want to start the relationship in a very physical way, and then it can blossom into something else. If that's not the way you want to go, then make sure that you put the brakes on early, because the chemistry will be there, and so the connection is there, and so you can kind of guide this relationship into a direction where you become friends first, or at least slow it down a little bit. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Venus and Mars, and so that is that this relationship may be just moving along as usual. Now, with the one caveat that if there is the financial stuff that we were talking about a minute ago, if that is related to your partner, that they're making more money and that makes you feel bad, or you're making the more money and you feel that they're feeling entitled to it, or whatever the dynamic is, it's time to see if you can balance those energies out. And I know that's very difficult when somebody else is involved, but it first starts with shifting how you feel about things, shifting your attitudes about things, and then looking at it from a different perspective. Remember, the opposition that we're doing in any lunar eclipse is if we can go and stand in the middle and say, okay, what does this side want and what does this side want, and how can we find a happy medium between those? That's where you begin this process. Now, when it comes to your money, you have a very powerful chart this time because you are pulling money from that Pluto, of course, and you're always going to be doing that. And that's going to be still in your house of home and family. So real estate opportunities, combining money with family members or getting some sort of help from family members, all of that's quite possible. But it's also that Mars, which is in your house of money. And that says take control of your money. Know what you're spending. Know how much things cost. What are your interest rates on credit cards or other debt? Can you go in and negotiate with them to get lower rates? So taking control of your finances is that step that is going to move you towards prosperity. So this is a really good time for it because you're doing a lot of very good planets in your houses of money. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or from your investments, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, these houses are so full of planets that you are bound to make more money than usual. So look for the opportunities. There may be some need to compromise with someone. Maybe they want to pay a little early and get a discount, or maybe you are looking at how stocks are going up and down. Maybe you need to get out of something, and so you take a little bit less profits, but you still show making more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun's not making an aspect with Pluto, but it is conjunct Mars. And they're in a money house. So this is a very good time to be talking to your supervisor about how you could get more money, or if you are looking for a job, to negotiate for more money. You've got multiple planets in the house of perks, and that would be, like extra time off or discounts on stock. That could be a way that the extra money comes to you. But you do have a very strong, just basic house of money, so it could come to you as a raise. Okay, Scorpio, you are doing this lunar eclipse in your houses of relationship. It's about yourself and others. And because you are Scorpio, and that's one side of this eclipse, your tendency is to favor Scorpio, and therefore it's kind of naturally out of balance. There is a inclination on your side to control, to find the power source and make sure that you have power, that you're not giving away your power. And all of that is good, but in this lunar eclipse, there is also a need to be comfortable with others, to be okay with trusting others, to allow others to give to you. So you're finding some balance in this kind of I'm an island and, I can do everything myself, to, oh yeah, I can cooperate with others and I might owe them a favor, but then they owe me as well. So that's the balance that you're looking for, is how can you incorporate others and what they're offering into your life without feeling like you're becoming vulnerable or compromised. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Neptune's making a sextile to Pluto, plus your relationship houses are full. They are, all the good planets are in them. So therefore, this is a really good time to go out and meet someone. Now, if you meet somebody on an eclipse, especially on the day of the eclipse, that can be a bit intense. So I will tell you that, because it's, in some ways, it's hard to see how the person feels about things because energy is blocked. So, but if you meet them just before the eclipse or just after the eclipse, you could meet somebody who becomes a significant relationship. So certainly consider going out with someone maybe after the day of the eclipse. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Pluto, again, the houses are filled with planets, and so there's plenty of energy for working things out, for coming together, for strengthening the relationship. Because it's an opposition, if you don't compromise, there can be a little war. That is, you are on two opposite sides. And so the two opposite sides have to come together at the border and say, hey, we are sharing a border, and therefore we need to, share other things. We need to be understanding of each other, because otherwise you're on opposite sides, and that can be combative. So focus on common ground, focus on what you share together, and you'll be fine. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Jupiter, which figures very prominently in this eclipse. And it is exactly opposite Mars. And so the energy is very much of this, well, if I can do this thing, why don't I do everything? It is taking an idea and expanding it big time. Now, that could be good. Maybe you have been thinking too small, and so now it's time to think, oh, if I can open one store, maybe I should franchise. Or if I have one product, maybe I should have a catalog of products. So it might be something around that, but it also could be this idea where you are just biting off more than you can chew, that you need to kind of break this down into smaller bite-sized morsels so that you can get things done rather than feeling, overwhelmed. But when it comes to money, the opportunities are big, but it doesn't mean that you have to try to bite the whole thing. Just, take what it is you need and then take, the next and the next and the next from there. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from investments, Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter, so a very strong ability to make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. You may see some profits from your investments. You might get more customers because you have such strong relationship houses. So you do show improvement in business over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, you are doing that, again, you're doing that opposition of Mercury-Jupiter with Venus there, but there is a little bit where the other person wants you to compromise a bit. And so you might say, oh, I want X amount of dollars. And they say, well, you can have a half of that. And so you might want to, kind of judge what you're going to ask for, knowing they're going to want you to backtrack a bit. So you're not going to get everything you're asking for, so make adjustments that way. It does show that you could ask for more than you're expecting they will give, and then as they backtrack, then you might fall into the range that you were expecting. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse, and it is in your house of health and well-being. It is also affecting your daily routines and your productivity. And there may be this desire to take your foot off the gas, to just coast a little bit. At the same time, that is making that opposition to your spiritual life, your inner life, your higher self speaking, your angels and guides who seem to be pushing you pretty forcefully in a direction. And so it may be that you're digging in your heels. On the hero's journey, the hero is always visited by someone who says, you have a bigger destiny. And what does the hero do? At first, he goes, no, that's somebody else. Please go talk to somebody else. So, and that's a little bit of what's going on here, that you're maybe receiving messages about a bigger destiny, but you're saying, I don't know if I want to do that right now. I was really hoping for a nap or, some more time watching TV. So this is where you have to look at the middle ground, the balance. This is not a time to be all for the quest and not a time to be all on the sofa. This is where you're going to find the balance between the two of those. And so this might mean more meditation, but also maybe it's in this peaceful, beautiful surroundings. So therefore you're getting both. So, but keep your ears open, because there may have been some messages from the universe that are going to be repeated during this time, where you are being shown something that you can do that is bigger than you were doing now. I should also mention too, because this is your houses of health and well-being, that this is also something where you are balancing the energy between not thinking about what you're eating or how you're exercising to trying to control every bite and every movement. And so finding the middle ground between the two of those as well, or staying up all night one night and then sleeping in the next day, and having that out of balance. So that can be what this eclipse is for you. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mars is making an opposition to Jupiter, so you have some good energy. It's interesting because they may be in your workplace, they may be connected to a job, or maybe be someone that you see on a daily basis, like somebody who serves you coffee or is part of your normal routine. They're at the gym. So it does look like you're not going out of your way to meet them, that they are already in your path. Then when it comes to existing love relationships, it looks like things are going along pretty well. Mercury is making an opposition to Jupiter. However, you do have those houses of daily routine that are activated. So if there is a problem, it is like, how can we get the dishes done where we both don't have to do them? Or, do we need to alternate who does the dishes? Or, is there a faster way to do this? Should we do it together so they're done lickety split? So there is, if there's any issue, it's going to be about the daily tasks or weekly tasks that go on in the house. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Saturn, and the Saturn is at 0 degrees, and 0 degrees is a critical degree. Critical degrees mean they are more intense than normal degrees. The 0 is quite interesting because the 0 has like unlimited choices. That's what you have right now. You have so many opportunities for making money. It is beyond count. The problem is that when faced with so many opportunities, the tendency is to just gravitate to something that is familiar. And so they've done studies about this in marketing, where if they offered people, 3 different choices of flavors of jam, they sold more than when they offered them 12 choices. Because it was too many choices, and then they weren't sure which to take. But when it was only 3, it was easy, like, oh yeah, I'll just take the strawberry. So this is what's going on, is you have too many choices. So therefore, artificially limit them. When you make the list, write down, like, these are going to be the limits. Like, maybe it's something that costs 0 money to start up, or that you don't have to do any school for, or that you could do only with a partner. So think of some artificial limitations so you can limit the choices, so you can get down to your 3 choices of jam, and you're not tempted to just take the familiar choice because there are too many choices. Now, when it comes to money from business or money from your investments, you're making about the same as usual. The moon's not making an aspect to Saturn. And because Saturn's at 0, there's so many options. So right now, I think that, again, you're just making about the same as usual. This is a time to look at the process, and especially with all that Scorpio, to almost do an autopsy on your decisions in the past. Look at the business decisions you've made, and why did you make them? Did you make them based on emotions? Did you make them on data? Did you have the data and then ignore the data so that you could emotionally make the decision? So looking at your decision-making process, and not to say that emotional decisions are wrong. Sometimes they're very correct. Intuition can guide us. But, looking at the the good decisions and the bad decisions and seeing if there's some common denominators. And then finally, when it comes to money derived from career, and that's like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. The eclipse is in your house of work. I would be a little bit wary about asking for a raise right now because you could end up with a boatload of extra work or coworkers you're not happy about or things like that, projects you don't like. So I would just wait till after this 2-week period before you broach the subject. Okay, Capricorn, you are doing this lunar eclipse in your house of fun, personal expression, kids, fertility, romance, and that is sitting opposite those planets in Scorpio. So we'll talk about those in a second. So right now, this is indicating that you're feeling comfortable in your own little kingdom, like with the people that you know, not necessarily branching out so much. And so that's the other side of this eclipse, which is sitting in that area of the general population, of being in the community, of going outside your comfort zone, of being free, and released from the obligations of home and family. So this is where you're looking for the balance. So if you're only hanging out with your kids, if you're only hanging out with family, then to go out with friends. If you're only doing friends, that's out of balance too. And then you want to try to do some things with family. It's same with if you are only looking at other people's art and not doing your own art. Or if you're only doing your own art and not, listening to other people's music, not seeing their paintings, not, thinking to get inspired that way. So this is about looking at whether you are balanced or whether you're favoring one side or the other. And then, this is about risk taking. And, if you're only taking risks that you're super comfortable with, that's not really a risk. On the other hand, you might feel that, you have to keep everything under control. Like you have to think of every possible scenario that can happen. That's out of balance too. So that's what we're looking at this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have some lovely planets in relationship houses. So it doesn't matter that Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn. You show a possibility of a new love relationship. If you meet them on the day of the eclipse, it could be a rather intense relationship. So, try not to make the first date the eclipse, but look for meeting them before or after the eclipse. But if you've been looking for love, you have a real opportunity now. And when it comes to your existing love relationship, the moon's making a lovely sextile to Saturn, and that means that you can work things out. You can figure out, we have a problem here, or, I don't like it when they do this. This is a time to bring it up. You can talk it out. You can solve it more easily than you think. Nothing will get solved, of course, if you don't bring it up, because this is a sextile. You have to take some sort of action. But if you do, there is a solution. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Uranus, which is in your house of creativity and risk-taking. We've talked about it many times, and it'll be there for a while, as well as the Saturn. The Saturn's the co-ruler of your money, and that Saturn is at 0 degrees right now. And the 0 degrees is a critical degree. The 0 degrees says you have a plethora of choices. You have so many money opportunities. But when you have so many opportunities, it can feel overwhelming. And what happens is, when you have that critical degree, is that you continually choose the same thing over and over and over. And that might mean that you have all these different ideas about how to handle your money, or to do investments, or sources of money. And you think, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. And then you don't start. And so this is to stop and say, what's the first couple of things I would do to get this going? Just think of the very first steps. You don't have to think about the whole process, but just the first steps, because otherwise you're just caught in a loop of doing the same thing over and over. Now, when it comes to money derived from business and or investments, the sun's not making an aspect to Uranus, but it is making a wonderful trine to Saturn. So you have an opportunity to accumulate more money this time, especially over this next 2 weeks. You do, a trine is so easy that sometimes we miss it. The trine's blessing is if you take a little bit of action, you get a lot of results. So that's what you want to work on, is what sort of action can you take, even a step towards somebody, like sending them the invoice or even thinking about sending them the invoice. That sort of thing can stimulate the energy and bring you more money. And then when it comes to money derived from career, you have Pluto is making a trine to Uranus, plus that house is full. You have so many opportunities right now, whether that's changing jobs or asking for a pay raise or getting a higher commission rate or getting some important perks. You have everything lined up that says this is the time to go ask for a raise. This energy is going to continue for a little bit, but right now it's super strong. So if you've been hesitating and waiting for the right time, this might be the right time. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this lunar eclipse right at the base of your chart in the area of home and family. And so there may be a change needed in how you are dealing with your family, how maybe you're giving a lot to them and not getting something in return. Maybe you are so comfortable there that you're not leaving the house. Maybe you are comfortably holding on to ideas from your childhood or from older relatives that may not apply to your life right now. And all this is sitting opposite that Sun, Mercury, Mars at the top of your chart, which is about career and how you are out in the world. And so looking at which one of these you want to balance, because it's interesting because the Aquarius energy sits between Taurus and Scorpio in a sense, so that you can see both sides. You can see where you're comfortable. You can see where you want to, take charge of your career and, be ambitious and go for it. And so maybe this is just a matter of balancing out your time. Maybe this is just looking at, what you can let go of from both sides. What are you trying to control too much in your career? Where are you held back from your past? And, cutting both of those so that you can just sail forward. So this is really powerful energy, especially for, where you live and what you do for a living and all of that. But if you are super focused on one, just on career, then you're going to need to pay attention to family right now. And if you're just focused on family, you might need to look at where your career is going or where your industry is going in general. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect to Uranus. However, you are super noticeable at this time, and so it's possible someone will ask you out. You might not notice even then that they are interested in you. And so that's the deal. And you may have to ask a family member, so to say, hey, this happened. What do you think this means? And then they'll say, hey, they just asked you out and you didn't notice. So, but that you seem to be preoccupied with other things. And so someone may be pursuing you for a love relationship and you may not notice. And when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's not making an aspect with Uranus. However, you have a very strong house of home and family. So it's likely that you are dealing with the bigger family and not so much, just you and your partner, that maybe you are a combined force, working with kids or older relatives, or perhaps you're getting together to move, and so you're focused very much on that. But your existing love relationship looks like you're solving problems as a team versus looking at each other and trying to solve the problems between the two of you. So, it's good to solve things as a team. That can help you grow and strengthen your relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune that's in your house of money. We've talked about that several times. That'll be there for a while, as well as Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is exactly opposite Mars. And so Mars is the planet of action. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And so this is how it goes. It's like, I want to think a little bigger. I'll go do this. Oh, that worked. Let me do 2 more of those. I'll do that. Let me do 4 more of those. I'll do that. Let me do 8 more of those. And so this is where things kind of get out of hand, where you start to think, oh, if I'm going to sell one product, I should make a dozen. If I'm going to open a little shop, I need to open a franchise. And what happens is then nothing ends up getting done because it gets too big. So instead, use the Jupiter as the point of knowledge, not the point of expansion. So you take the action, the money action, like you go to sell somebody something, your product or your service, and then use the Jupiter to say, okay, how could I have done this better? What could I have done differently? What are other people doing? Look at it from the education side of Jupiter rather than, oh, okay, I did this once. Now I have to do it 10 times an hour forever, which nobody wants to do. Now, when it comes to money derived from business or investments, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune. This is an interesting aspect because you can gain, but it opens up additional issues. And when you deal with those, you can gain, but then that opens up additional issues, etc. So that is that, yeah, you can sell a bunch of stuff and now you have to deliver the stuff. You have to get it in boxes and get it to the post office, or you need to do the services, you need to schedule them. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. However, it's still an aspect, so you're likely to make more money than usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, Jupiter has been making a semi-square to Neptune for a little bit now, and it's continuing. But now that Jupiter is really involved because it's part of this lunar eclipse. So a semi-square means that there is some sort of irritation about doing this. So it's probable that you don't want to go in and ask for a raise, or your boss doesn't want to hear about it or something like that. But that's okay because you're doing an aspect, so you could win the raise that you're looking for. You just have to get over the hurdle of the irritation that you're feeling or they're feeling in the process of doing it. You are going to have this aspect still for a little bit more time. And so, this isn't the absolute, I have to do something about this now. But, it's not going to be forever. And so, I would say in the next, what's going to happen, Jupiter will go retrograde. So we're going to lose this aspect for a bit, and then it will go direct. And then I think maybe February, you'll get this aspect again. So, but that would be a good time to ask for yet another raise. Okay, Pisces, you are doing this lunar eclipse in this area of, thinking and ideas and fun activities and, singing and dancing and hanging out with your siblings and, like very fun things. And these things feel very comfortable. And they're sitting across from that powerful Scorpio in that area of higher education, formal education, education that has exams, or, long distance trips, not just a trip to go see your buddy, but a trip, to a foreign country, or not just a bit of paperwork, but an actual contract. And this is what is needing to be balanced. Is instead of just doing the easy stuff, and I'm not saying that you are, but if you are gravitating towards the easy stuff, what can you do that's hard? And vice versa. If you're only doing the hard stuff, if you're only doing school in the most serious way possible, then maybe you need to take a fun class. If you are only, doing the most, I need to go to the most distant place ever, I need to go around the world versus just going to the next state as a trip. So finding the balance between these so that you are not favoring one side or the other, because when you do, the side that you're ignoring will scream louder and louder and louder. And so in a school situation, that would be, if you are really focused on your studies, then the desire to just watch TV is just going to get so loud and so tempting. And so that's where you want to find that balance. I should also say, too, that the balance here may be between you being the student and you being the teacher. And that can be that it might be time for you to graduate yourself, even whether you have the degree or not. Maybe you already have the degree for a long time, but you haven't really owned that you know the information. And so this may mean that you need to go teach a class. So, or again, that you're doing the other side, that you're always the teacher, and maybe it's time to just go sit in the student desk for a little while. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect to Neptune. And the house, you do have Venus in your house of relationships. Yay, that's nice. So, and it's making some very wide aspects here and there. So, but most of this indicates that you're just not really paying attention to love right now. You have your mind on other things, and that's great. So it's possible that someone is pursuing you for a love relationship. And, maybe one of your siblings says, hey, that person just asked you out and you didn't notice. So, or the person asking you out isn't the type you were looking for, isn't what you were hoping. And so therefore you're just waiting for, the next go around. So, and plus meeting someone during an eclipse time is already problematic because it can be such intense energy. So, right now, if you're not meeting someone, just give it some time and let us get out of this eclipse season. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's making a sesquiquadrate to Neptune. This means that you have like there's a little bit of a knot here, something the two of you need to work out. And there's a little string hanging here and you're just tempted to pull it. And that it keeps unraveling and unraveling and unraveling and unraveling. So that is, as you try to work on something, other problems emerge. So it might be like you say to them, why don't you ever get me coffee? And then it blows up into this, like who's making more money and who should buy things for who. So you may be completely ready to have that conversation. You may look at this string and say, I know where this is going to unravel. That's great. Then by all means, use the eclipse energy for that. But if you're just thinking, yeah, I'm just mad they didn't get me coffee, and then poof, and the whole thing starts to go, oh, now we have to deal with this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. And it just creates problem after problem. So that's where you want to be a little bit careful about what could unravel. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the Mars, which is making an exact opposition to Jupiter. Really interesting energy, because when we combine those, we kind of get a little bit of a superhero thing going on. And that is, like if we can run faster than a train. If we can jump higher than a building. Everything that you do can get expanded. So consider that this could be the time where you tell people, yeah, I can go ahead and, take on this contract or, lease this place or, start the business. You can do something that's bigger than you normally do. Will you take a bite of something that's too big to handle? It's possible. It's possible. So don't lock yourself in. But it is okay to take a big bite out of something now and see if you can chew it, see if you can handle it. And if you can't, then you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to have to step back and work on this bite before I take another one. So, but this is really good energy for doing something that is a bit out of your comfort zone, that's bigger than maybe you expected, but certainly bigger than other people expected you to do. Now, when it comes to money from business or from your investments, Venus is not making an aspect to Mars. So it's likely that payments are coming outside the 2-week period. You've got good energy, as I was saying, with that Mars-Jupiter of business ideas and opportunities. It just may not translate into actual profits just yet. I think they'll just come outside the 2-week period. Then when it comes to money derived from career, which is like a paycheck, Saturn's not making an aspect with Mars. That's right now, you could ask for the raise, etc. It's possible they would say you need some sort of training, or you need a higher credentials, or they have to wait for some approval from some foreign office, maybe you're a conglomerate company. But what's more important is that you could start the process of asking, or even say, hey, let's meet and talk about that, but set the meeting outside this 2-week period because you're not doing the aspect, and allow yourself the extra time to see how the energies line up in the future. Because right now it does look like there's opportunities, but it seems to be a little bit of a mismatch, which could mean they say, yes, you can have a raise, but you don't get it for 3 months, stuff like that. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.